Welcome everybody to the Smart Sandyford first anniversary and a bit of a networking review event. My name's Connor, I'm the Smart Sandyford Program Manager, and I'm really excited today to be showcasing our work from the last year. It'd be great to have everybody in the network come together face to face, but we will make do with Zoom and look forward to getting back together again later this year. So today I'm delighted to be welcomed by An Cathaoirleach Una Power. We're going to be looking at a general overview of what the program is all about, what we're working towards, sort of a change in plan due to COVID-19, obviously. Then we'll look at sort of the research projects. We've had great success in bringing in some research projects this year, looking at some of the other core case studies with our network partners, and then looking forward to the new year. At the inauguration yesterday, they fit in J-Lo, Garth Brooks and Lady Gaga in about half an hour. So we've no excuse if we run late. So we will keep it to under an hour. And if we have any questions, we'll try and fit those in at the end as well. So thanks very much for joining us. And now I'll hand over to An Cathaoirleach Una Power. Una, over to you.
Thank you so much, Connor, and thank you for inviting me to speak today. I won't do any songs or pomp or ceremony, as was the case at the inauguration, so we should stay on time. I think it's been an amazing year for Smart Sandyford, an incredible first year, and it's really important that we have initiatives like Smart Sandyford, because currently there are 4 billion people living in cities across the world, to go to almost 10 billion by 2050, which is incredible. What an incredible number of people living in urban districts. But this brings challenges naturally. Challenges when it comes to climate resilience, when it comes to transport, when it comes to work and living. And we need smart solutions to offset the problems that may occur and to create fantastic opportunities for creating a world that reflects what we want to live in. And the Smart Cities project is that. And Smart Cities, for those who don't know, Smart Dublin is an initiative that was put together by the 4 different local authorities in Dublin. And Smart Sandyford is one of the district projects within that. And we're so proud in DL to have Smart Sandyford as part of our county because of the amazing work that they've been doing. I mean, you only have to look back at the year in review booklet that Connor sent out to see the incredible wealth of work. Everything from research projects, like the 2 EU funded research projects, which I believe are called Score and Precinct, that Smart Sandyford managed to bring in its first year, which anybody who's ever applied for an EU funding project knows how difficult it is. From that to working with the Canvas project on our different lighting fixtures across the county, to engaging with the different companies here on the Smart Sandyford URDF funding and on the BID bids. It's just amazing the wealth and experience and insight that's being brought forward, and looking at everything, not just the digital, but the public realm and how the digital realm can interact with that public realm. Looking at ways that we can manage our traffic by having smart research behind it and knowing actually what we need to tackle and what the issues are. And I think that's something that's coming more and more to the fore now, is having that sort of incredibly research-driven and analytics-based approach to public policy. And having the expertise of an initiative such as Smart Sandyford is incredibly important to us inside the council to get all of that wealth of information. So I'd just like to say thank you to Connor and the team for the incredible work that you've done. And just looking back over this year, your booklet doesn't read like it's been a year. It reads like it's been 10 years. The incredible work that's been done is an absolute testament to you. And looking forward to the many, many years ahead and creating a good, livable, walkable, cyclable city for all. And I'll hand it back to you, Connor. I said I wouldn't sing, so there you go.
On mute, of course. Thanks a million, Una. That's absolutely brilliant. I think the support of the council, it makes what we do achievable, and we couldn't do it without all our partners, but in particular the various different departments in Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown and your own support, we couldn't have done it. So thank you very much for all those kind words. Just to highlight a few of those things that you mentioned as well, we did have a fantastic first year, and it all kicked off with our launch in Microsoft last February. Now the following day was the first day of COVID, so we had to quickly pivot on a lot of our projects, which I'll talk about in a minute. But as you rightly mentioned in it, the EU project funding and working with a huge range of partners across the network, both industry, local government and academic, to bring in that funding was a huge success. In addition to that, we also had the research papers and case studies we got out in the first year, analysing what's going on in the council, in a few of the different companies, and getting that out on putting it down on paper does really help get the word of mouth out and helps us to grow the network then for new projects the next year. We're working with a number of the different companies for sensor deployment and looking at the best way to progress different sensor types to address the different challenges the council has. Across Dublin, while Smart Sandyford's only in its first year, we have 2 new districts starting as well on the Smart Dublin team. So Smart D8 and Smart Balbriggan, which we'll hear a little bit more later on. And we're also looking to expand the team as well across the 4 local authorities. We have Barry's on here, a new smart tourism position, and we're also looking for new sustainable transport researchers as well. So it's a really exciting space, and it's fantastic to see the engagement and the enthusiasm of all of our partners. I think why it works well, the Smart Sandyford program, is that there are challenges facing us all, and no one individual stakeholder group can actually do the full job in solving any of those challenges. So that collaboration and that approach to any challenge is really what is making everything work. Where before, even within maybe the university or the council, there might have been siloed departments, we're now seeing everybody coming together and these huge organizations actually working together and addressing these major challenges through different research initiatives, through projects, through working with industry partners to develop and deploy sensor types. And of course, not forgetting our engagement with the residents and the employees within Sandyford and across Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown as well, to get their input, find out what their challenges are, find out if what we're doing is working. So it's not just a one-off consultation at the beginning or at the end of a project. We actually have ongoing engagement with people, which really seems to be working well. So within the Sandyford district, where our testbed is, we have 1,000 companies, 5,000 residents, and that's a little bit of a shift in sort of the demand for services, where before, in days gone by, it was Sandyford Industrial Estate. We're now very much a business district with a residential element that is continuing to grow, and we're looking forward to the CSO census data coming out next year to see how big that shift really has been. And of course, there are 30,000 employees. So that density of people, and obviously in normal times, they'd be coming into the district every day, really allows us to test and scale new ideas and trial things that work where you need that density of people for them to be tested properly. But we're also looking now to expand the scope of the project and look at county-wide challenges, and working with a range of the DLR departments. We're really getting stuck into some of those wider and bigger challenges, like you mentioned, in climate change. So I might hand over to Ronan Heron, who's the Digital Strategy Officer for Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown, and he's going to talk about some of those wider challenges and projects in Dún Laoghaire. Ronan.
Okay, thank you very much, Conor. Yeah, I'm going to keep this fairly quick because I'm smothered with a head cold and I don't want to break into a fit of sneezing in the middle of this. But it's hard to believe that we're at the first anniversary of Smart Sandyford already. And it's been a very, very strange year. So I suppose one of the main things that I want to say is to thank the partners, and in particular to thank Conor Dowling for all of his work throughout the last year. Smart Sandyford is all about our strength and unity, going back to Joe Biden again yesterday, I suppose. But it works, and it's had the kind of success it's had in the last year because of the partnership between academia, industry, and the local authority. And the bit that Conor and the team have done so well is the engagement piece as well. So while you can bring business, academia, local government together, all of that is really brilliant. It brings academic rigor to what you're doing. It means that you have data-based decision making, but you absolutely need to hear the voice of the people on the ground, the businesses on the ground, and the people who live there. And that's been one of the great, fantastic strengths of Smart Sandyford in year one, which kind of leads me on to my role within the council, and a piece of work which I'm trying to get complete and will hopefully be complete within the next few weeks, is a digital strategy for Dún Laoghaire as a county. And I'm very much taking my lead from the work of Smart Dublin and Smart Sandyford, insofar as where it's appropriate, our digital strategy. And I suppose, first of all, I have to tell you what a digital strategy is. A digital strategy for the county is something that wants to make sure that Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown as a county, that it takes advantage of the opportunities afforded by digital. That's it in a nutshell. And how do we do that? Like I say, we'll be taking our lead from Smart Sandyford and from Smart Dublin, insofar as it'll be a quadrihelix approach where appropriate. So if it's appropriate to engage with business and academia in order to come up with smart solutions, digital solutions, then that's how we will proceed. But the most important aspect of it is the engagement piece, and our strategy will engage on an ongoing basis, on an annual basis, around our work program, what we're doing, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and what do we need to change for each year. So then to talk about some of the projects that we've already been working on in the digital sphere, the SBIR has been particularly successful for us. And I think, again, the success of SBIR is down to partnership. Enterprise Ireland are working with us in putting up half of the money. And that makes challenges very, very tangible. When you go to the market with your challenge-based procurement, you're saying to the market, here's a particular problem, how can we fix it? And at the moment, there's a few of those that have that are yielding decent results for us. One at the moment around crack sensors. So rather than sending engineers and workers out to check out old buildings or walls or whatever, why don't we just put a sensor on it and allow those things to self-report? That's something we're doing at the minute. Our IoT energy trial in County Hall fed directly into the organisation getting its ISO 50001 standard, which is around energy conservation and be smart in the use of energy and resources. So yeah, that's just to give a very, very quick flavour of what we're doing. I'm really looking forward to continuing and to broadening out the Smart Sandyford programme, and to continuing to work with the partners, with industry, with Trinity, with the Enable programme, with UCD, and really looking forward to what comes back from the community when we engage around what we should be doing in Sandyford, or what we should be doing within the wider context of digital within the county. So I'd just like to finish by saying thanks very much to the Smart Sandyford team, and in particular to Conor for his hard work in the last year. And I'll hand you back to Conor now. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Ronan. Thanks for those kind words. Yeah, it's good to hear that we're having a little bit of an impact. And I think what you said there about that engagement and listening to the local population and the residents is really important. And that was kind of one of the aspects where COVID came in. We had to be really reactive to what was going on. We were working with Bleeper and Moby, who are you've probably all seen the luminous e-bikes and the Bleeper white bikes around Dublin at this stage. But they actually gave their fleet to over 2 frontline staff for free at the start of that first wave, where everyone was a bit headless, to be honest, and public transport was down. These people had to get to the hospitals, had to get to nursing homes, and there were no options available to them. So Bleeper and Moby stood in. We, with the council's own mobility hub bikes, we made those available, and the response from people on the ground was overwhelmingly positive. So it's an example there of what Ronan said, of engaging with the kind of market demands at the time. We also worked with again, the research community. iForm is a centre based primarily in UCD, who had 3D printed a load of PPE when the masks were in shortage in that first March-April period. And we were able to work with our local hospital in the Beacon, Michael's and Tala Hospital to get them some masks when there was that initial huge shortage. We also worked with a collaborative research network of international researchers led by Professor Louise Comfort in Pittsburgh University and our own Mary Lee Rhodes in Trinity College Dublin, among 10 other countries, to look at the initial response by the local and national governments and what they were doing to combat COVID. In our own Dublin case study, we held a number of workshops, interviews with the key decision makers, both in DCC and DLR, looked at government policy, the data that was available at the time, and wrote up the Dublin case study that looked at basically what impacted the collective cognition of those decision makers to make the decisions they did at that time. And at that time, we were one of the best in terms of responding quickly and making those quick decisions. So it is, in terms of the global picture of that first wave, we were, right at the forefront, which is really positive. And we're looking forward to presenting that this year. I'm going to hand you over now to Professor Siobhan Clark, who's our principal investigator for Enable and the lead on the Smart Sandyford program. And Siobhan, you might touch on some of the research elements that have been so important to the program this year.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks very much, Conor. And first of all, I should say I'm delighted and honoured to be involved in the Smart Sandyford program. It's been fantastic. Just a few words. I'd say many of you have heard of Enable before, but just a few words of what it is. It's a Science Foundation Ireland funded research programme that was launched in January of 2018. And our focus on sort of putting it together originally was to address exactly those kinds of challenges that Una has been talking about earlier: population growth, constrained resources. We need a more sustainable type of focus on trying to address these challenges. Now, I'm a computer scientist, so I suppose my initial focus was on thinking about the advances in technology, and there've been fantastic advances in communications technology, in data gathering and sensors technology, and in artificial intelligence, and those come together really it's a really exciting time as a technologist to put these together to address some of the challenges. And to that end, when we were putting together the program, we sort of drew in the expertise and set up relationships with 3 of the Science Foundation Ireland funded research centres. Insight, which is the Data Analytics Research Centre, Connect, which is the Future Networks and Communications Research Centre, and Lero, the Software Research Centre. So Enable is a collaboration between the 3 of these centres. Now, of course, technology is a very sort of narrow view of the world at some level. I mean, as a computer scientist, I think it's crucially important, but there's no point in us technical people putting together lots of technology if people won't use it. So we knew that it was going to be critically important that we have we consider the societal and the citizen element as well. So in addition to that, as a really core part of the programme is the social science and the citizen engagement element, which is a sort of a cross-cutting research stream across everything that we do. And that's led by Professor Anna Davis in Trinity College. So yes, a part of, and of course this is, I'd say it's the academic research partners, but it's a very significant element, in fact a core element of our research programme is the kind of interactions and collaborations with industry and public authorities. And the research that we do is in the context of the problems that emerge for our industry and partners. So that's sort of where we are with Enable. Next slide, Conor. So there's 2 particular strands, I suppose, that I can mention today that we're working on, particularly with Smart Sandyford at the moment. The first is led by Anna. I mentioned earlier as a social scientist, I think it's, Rona talked about engagement, Una talked about engagement. It's really important that we understand, that we bring citizens and partners and all stakeholders really involved in DLR to really sort of get involved in the process of trying to address the challenges. And to that end, Anna is leading a programme of, first of all, trying to understand what people mean by, engagement. Everybody might mean something different by it. So the first task really is to focus on how engagement is understood in the Sandyford environment and practiced currently. So what is the state of play at the moment? And as a result of that, then, the plan is to identify and, I suppose, evaluate various different engagement practices and ultimately try to come up with effective and meaningful strategies for Sandyford, and to think about smartness and sustainability in the Sandyford region. So that's the first ongoing project. And the other one then is being led by Professor Brian Caulfield in Trinity, and that's looking at mobility, and particularly starting with cycling, but we'll have a broader remit as well. But in the cycling context, there's been a huge, the success of the Cycle to Work schemes has been recognised. There's also been an increase in e-bike sales, and of course, as you know, DLR have come up with that lovely sort of cycle greenway as well. So I think even since March last year, people are recognising the value of cycling a lot more, and it has been a focus for DLR for a number of years, actually, trying to increase the participation of cycling as a mobility option in the region, in the district rather. And Brian and his team are going to study that, and I suppose understand whether or not if there's any impediments to cyclists taking up more, using cycling as a mobility option more and more, and to ensure basically that the increase in the e-bike sales and so on does increase in cycling across the country, across the county. Now there's a view that there's a possibility that the lack of facilities may be preventing preventing people from using cycling or to or from the public transport or entirely, and that there might be issues with security and user confidence. And that's kind of anecdotal currently. Maybe some studies that may have been relevant, but not necessarily in the DLR region. So Brian and his team are going to first try to analyse and assess what might be the challenges or the concerns with cycling in the region, and then set out sort of a programme of research to analyse those difficulties that people might mention, and suggest and test out potential solutions for more secure cycling and safe cycling. So that's a sort of an exciting project that will be started in the next weeks, actually. And I think that's, sorry, I may have taken more time than you had wanted to give me, Conor, but I'll stop with that.
No problem, Siobhan. Thanks. Thank you very much. Just further to what you mentioned there, that job, I think Brian actually, it went live yesterday. So that position would be working with Professor Brian Caulfield in Trinity, and Director Robert Burns in the Infrastructure Department in Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown. And if you know somebody who, or you yourself, would like to make an impact, this sustainable transport position is really at the forefront of making that impact in Dún Laoghaire, and it's really, really exciting. So that job is up and posted live at the moment. I think now, just to continue from what Siobhan had said about the importance of this kind of research, and Una had highlighted the sort of challenge in bringing in EU projects. We've been really, really lucky that we sometimes take it for granted that we have so many top class universities in Dublin, but working with Trinity, UCD, even TUD, IADT, DCU, lots of acronyms just to throw at you there. But we take it for granted that we have this knowledge base built up, but it really helps bring in this kind of funding. And we were lucky to partner with Francesco Pila, poor Carol, who's on now, to work on using Dún Laoghaire as a test bed where new technologies can be brought in and tested. Just as a way of background, these EU projects are all funded under what was Funding Programme 7 between 2007 and 13, where you might have 10 to 15 partners all working together from across Europe. That developed into Horizon 2020, which was between 2014 and 2020, which you might have 20, 25 partners all working together. These projects are under the Horizon Europe, which come under the Green Deal funding, which will be 2021, 2027. And on these, you're talking 30, 40 partners. These are massive, massive projects where Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown will be a living lab where all these researchers, industry partners, other local governments will come together using the best research, the best technologies, and testing them here. So we're kind of at the forefront of Europe in this regard, which is just so incredible and exciting. So I'm going to pass over now to Professor Pádraig Carroll, who's going to talk a little bit more about the Precinct project. Pádraig?
Yeah, thanks, Conor. Hi everyone. My name is Pádraig Carroll. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Civil Engineering at UCD. And I'm likewise delighted to be working with Smart Sandyford from a research point of view. I think it's great to strengthen our collaboration, UCD's collaboration with our neighbours in Smart Sandyford and Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown County Council. And so yeah, as Conor mentioned there, this project Precinct, which we recently were awarded funding for, this stands for Preparedness and Resilience Enforcement for Critical Infrastructure. And it's looking at cyber physical threats and effects to focus on the district and regional protection to these threats. So I suppose the overall project objective is to establish a sort of ecosystem platform to connect various stakeholders of various interdependent critical infrastructures. So those being in energy, water, transportation, and ICT and telecommunications, and as well as emergency services as well. So this consortium is quite large. It's about up to 40 partners, some of which are from research and academia point of view, others from utility providers and critical infrastructure operators. So as part of this project, we're looking to connect essentially digital twin technology with a serious game approach. So Conor, if you just go to the next slide, please. So in this methodology, I suppose the digital twin will be used as a means of essentially simulating how these cyber threats or natural hazard threats may play out in terms of how it will impact on our various infrastructures. So from DLR's and Smart Sandyford's point of view, they'll be what we're calling a demonstration site or a validation site that will be used to essentially test the transferability of the models that we're developing in this project. So as part of this project, we have 4 living labs in Ljubljana, Athens, Antwerp, and Bologna. And then we have 3 validators or demonstrators in Luxembourg, Montevideo in Uruguay, and then in Smart Sandyford. So in the Smart Sandyford case, we'll be looking at investigating green transport city security and resilience implications to natural hazards and also cyber physical threats. So essentially we'll be using simulation techniques to model multimodal transport networks and to also build in a serious game approach, which will essentially be used as a vulnerability assessment tool to identify any potential vulnerabilities to cascading effects in these networks essentially. So we're really excited to get started in this project, and we hope to recruit a number of postdoctoral researchers later this year. So it's exciting times. Thanks, Conor.
Brilliant, thank you, Pádraig. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting started on that one. SCORE is the second EU project we mentioned, and again, similar problems to the challenges that Una had mentioned at the very start around flooding and climate change. So obviously, as a Viking-built city on the Liffey Delta, flooding is a major issue for all of Dublin along the Dún Laoghaire coastline. Obviously, the Dart is a major risk. So through SCORE, we're going to look to develop, it's kind of a similar setup to what Porca described for Precinct, where these project partners will come and test those technologies in Dublin or Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown, but we'll be developing a co-warning system, doing a socio-economic assessment of where flooding is going to occur. We'll be mapping sort of that baseline exposure, kind of building on the CFRAM network of risk analysis for flooding around Ireland. We'll then also be looking at digital twin analysis of coastal flood sensor development, and looking at how, in this case, the Dart line, but other infrastructure systems will also interact. And the cascading impact of if one fails, how do the others react, or are they able to support one another, and how that would all work. In addition, we'll look at the financial resilience enhancement. So you can't necessarily prevent these major climate disasters, but what you can impact is how your community and your systems react and how they build back quicker or bounce back. So that's what we're going to be looking to enhance, what funding mechanisms are going to be needed and how we can enhance those in Dún Laoghaire. And then, of course, we'll evaluate the measures and the impact we've had through the projects for both SCORE and Precinct. And we do have a few more submissions going in that we're hopeful of getting as well, but fingers crossed on those. On maybe not on the European scale, but probably most of our time is spent working with the local companies, looking at how we can promote startups, large multinationals. We're lucky in Sandyford that we have the likes of the Microsofts, the MasterCards, the Vodafones, but we also have smaller. Most of the companies are only 2 or 3 people working together on whatever idea and trying to get started. So a lot of what we do is try to look at helping startups and smaller SMEs to get their projects to scale, looking at how we can work with them to test in the district and across Dún Laoghaire. And part of that process, as Ronan mentioned, is that engagement piece, not just consulting with maybe the residents on how trials are happening at the start or at the end, but having that process the whole way through. It's really helped by our Smart Sandyford task force, which where we meet once a month or every 6 weeks with the local companies in Sandyford Business District and get their insight in terms of the local technology companies or the other companies of what's really happening on the ground in the district and how we can help. One of those companies is Cellnex. So I'm going to hand over to Director Paul Delaney now, who might talk a little bit about our exciting LoRa projects. Paul?
Hi, Connor, can you hear me? Yeah?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, thanks very much, Connor. Cellnex, we're delighted to be able to speak today, and we're actually very we're based in Sandyford, which is great, and we have been working with Connor and Smart Sandyford for the last over a year now, and I suppose in terms of who Cellnex are, well, Cellnex, we're in 12 countries in Europe at the moment, and we are an infrastructure telecommunications infrastructure provider. But basically, I've been challenged with development of other areas outside of just infrastructure in terms of value adds like LoRa and IoT in Ireland. So we've been working with Smart Sandyford to deploy LoRa coverage in Sandyford, which I'm glad to say is there now. And on top of that, we're working with the likes of Accelerate for mobility use cases, cognition, world energy, and in particular, facility with regards smart buildings and building compliance. So we actually want to expand this year and work with the DLR to deploy some more sensoring in the area, and we're open absolutely to work with researchers, likes of anyone in UCD or Trinity or Pervasive Nation as well, to develop any more sensor activities we can. In terms of our LoRa deployment in Ireland, we have done a pilot in Offaly County Council, Leaden area, and that has 4 separate use cases at the moment with parking, waste management, air quality monitoring, and building compliance. And if anyone wants any information, that I would like to share that with you. In terms of Dublin and our LoRa, at the moment we have 2 gateways just on air at the moment. Dublin, I'm putting a further 2 on air for another POC, this coming month, and I intend to fully deploy or start the full deployment in Dublin in this first quarter. So by the end of this year, well, I would say by the end of the summer, Dublin will be fully covered by LoRa by Cellnex, and intensification can be looked at then thereafter for maybe indoor any specific requirements. Also, I'd say to any researchers or any other councils listening to this that we're available to deploy, specific gateways for, we'll say, for lab tests, for indoor, just to test any sort of sensors. We're actually doing that with some of the partners I've just mentioned. So the basic message is LoRa is coming. It's coming fast, and Cellnex are very open to work with both local authorities, third parties, academia, to enhance what we can deliver for the region. And thanks, Conor. Really appreciate this opportunity to talk today.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, it's a really exciting space, and I think the IoT world is about to take off, particularly in relation to local government. I think there are a huge number of opportunities that we can work on this year. It's never ending. I'll pass over now to Cian O'Flaherty, who's part of Safe Facility and one of those companies working with Cellnex and ourselves. Cian?
Yeah, thanks, Conor. Thanks for inviting us along. As Paul mentioned, they have been investing in LoRaWAN deployments. So Safe Facility is a smart buildings company. Our team actively deploys sensoring in buildings for fire safety, building safety, water management like Legionella testing, and condition monitoring. So what we're looking at in Smart Sandyford with the availability of the network is the ability to drive solutions for local government or for mass adoption. For example, predictive maintenance around buildings, so intervention before mold or decay, which you can use very, very lightweight sensors to gather that data and create that solution, or creating safer buildings using monitored smoke detectors, emergency lighting systems, and water systems. So our role with Cellnex has been in Smart Sandyford and in Eden Derry is getting these buildings tooled up to provide the use cases and ensure the value and the innovation for the large estate operators. So we're looking forward this year to working closely with Smart Sandyford and furthering the testbed and innovation as a locally based DLR company. It's right in our doorstep, and it's been a fantastic opportunity. A lot like what Paul said, we're also looking at collaborating in collaborative R&D. We have a track record in both H2020 and European Space Agency work. So we're open to opportunities to collaborate as the industry partner in some of these as well. Yeah. In addition, we've also been working through Ronan's team in the council and with Conor on the SBIR project. So initially, ourselves and our partners, Semicon, based in Rathcoole, connected a myriad of devices, including electric vehicle chargers, to a municipal radio network deployed on street lighting. This was really innovative in a low-cost way of gathering and managing information from critical city-based infrastructure. It's a big challenge gathering all of that information ubiquitously at a cost that makes it worthwhile. So that was a really innovative project to be part of. And as Ronan said, we've delivered quite a lot out of it. We're on the second phase at the moment, developing a crack sensor, which would enable predictive automated alerting on infrastructure like bridges, roads, or older buildings that prevent the need for in-person inspections, but allow you to see when infrastructure might be on the point of disintegrating. So we're working on that, and we're hoping to bring those results to fruition this year as we finish out the SBIR project. Thanks again to everyone for having us involved.
Brilliant, Cian. Thank you very much. I think that's a fantastic example of the kind of work we're looking to do. Whereas before, maybe council staff would have to go out on a ladder, scaffold, climb up on, and get all of that in order to climb up and check a crack. Now we can look at smart solutions that can do it and keep giving us a constant feedback and let us know if there's any movement in these cracks. Certainly, I know in the pier in Dún Laoghaire, it's a major issue anytime there's a storm, that there are cracks that need to be monitored, and that sort of solution is just brilliant. So thank you, Cian. we've highlighted a couple of times already, but really what we are all about is looking at that citizen-centric approach, bringing people along with the message. I think sometimes, smart cities, it can sound like it's a know-it-all sort of thing, but really what we're trying to do is bring people along with the message, explain how technology works, and show its value, and just making people's lives better. But new technologies aren't always the answer, but often they do help us analyze the performance of maybe even a bike track or something like that. So there is a place for it, but it's not always a necessity that it's the smartest way is the best way. But an example of how we engage with people is this project We Count, where we're working with Enable researcher Francesco Pila and UCD. And you can see in that image, that's a see-through little camera stuck on a window, which just simply counts cars as they pass by under the window. And Francesco is deploying 200 of these. He's giving them away for free as part of this We Count project across Dublin. We have a number of sensors already deployed in Sandyford, and I know a few more are going to be shipped across Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown. So individual homeowners, business owners can get these sensors for free, hook them up on just by plugging them in onto their own Wi-Fi, and they'll just report back into this EU project where data information will be generated by the researchers and made available to the local council. So it's a good example of how everybody being involved and working together can actually give a little bit more information to help solve solution to a challenge like congestion and traffic. In addition, the whole idea of the smart district, I suppose, wouldn't really work if there wasn't a benefit to the local companies and the residents. We can't just be testing technologies all the time without showing kind of the payback. Some of the work we've done this year with the Sandyford Business District has been on their placemaking plan. So we held a number of workshops with the local companies, identifying their challenge areas and trying to identify some of the some potential solutions where new parks could go, cycle lanes, or maybe even making one-way roads like Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown have done so well on the coastal route and the coastal villages in Blackrock through Dún Laoghaire and all the way down to the 40-foot. We've also applied for a URDF grant, or Urban Regeneration Development Fund, for a new smart park where we'll be able to test new technologies and look at interacting more with the local schools and colleges as well. And we also had a bit of fun with the Colour in the City campaign with Dublin Canvas, where we had 5 of the local boxes painted, which added a nice bit of colour to the district as well. In addition to a few of the other papers, Fulbright scholar Matt Larkey was over from the States this year working with Smart Dublin, and each of the smart district managers, myself included, wrote up case studies on their respective districts, which are going to be published in the MUMA Business School Review this year as a Dublin case study series, which we're really excited about. I'm not sure if Matt McCann is on the line, but he is a really good example of accessibility. Matt, are you there? No, sorry, I thought I saw him. Matt is the chief executive of Access Earth, and it's one of the projects we're working on to analyze the accessibility in the district. Last year, they were able to train a classifier using European Space Agency information and deploying that across Sandyford. So once you've trained the classifier on what to identify, it's able to rapidly analyze an area. So in this case, we're analyzing the accessible parking in the district. So we're able to analyze the quality and the availability of transport of accessible parking, which has been a huge benefit to the local area. And I know Access Earth themselves have benefited from getting contracts following that case study. So it's the kind of project where if other companies want to deal or to work with us, you do get the case study, the showcase, and it's a good platform to demonstrate how your technology works, and then to further enhance your relationships with the research community or indeed the council. You can see here how the technology essentially works by gathering and training the images, cleaning them up in some cases, One of the issues with accessible parking is there's no standard really in terms of what, or well, there is, but it's not abided by. So it's a real challenge in terms of where people should go. Placemaking is an issue. In many cases, they are not well signposted, or the paint has faded off. So this classifier was able to give us a percentage match with each of the car parking spaces in Sandyford and tell us areas that needed improvement or the companies that were doing well. So it was a really interesting project, and great to see the take up. Certainly that technology has a wide range of uses, not just in accessible parking, but maybe also in urban forests and tree analysis, buildings planning, and that kind of thing as well. In addition to our, the engagement Siobhan was talking about, we also just do standard public engagement, which is just getting word about. We had great success last year with the Innovation Week, a number of talks with Sandyford Bid, Smart Dublin, and some of our other partners. All of those are available on our website, and Aisling Lennon and the Smart Dublin team have done great work redeveloping the website this year. So you can check that out as well for all of our webinars and videos. We were also delighted, well, in this case, it was due to COVID, actually. We had planned consultations which had to shift online. So we had a webinar series, and a few of the people on talking now had played a great part in that. So thank you all very much. But it's a new way of reaching out to people, these online webinars, and sometimes we have too many of them, but it is a great tool, and we had great popularity reaching out to each of the stakeholder groups, which was really positive. Just in terms of maybe our new projects this year, we're looking at a few different trials, and certainly we are being approached more and more to do trials, which is sort of a testament to the success the team has had this year. One of these is Street Dock, which are a cargo bike last mile delivery company. So rather than having your truck or delivery van drive around residential areas like Sandyford, you can have a central depot area where most of the packages are left off, and then a cyclist would actually do the last mile delivery of those packages. It's a relatively simple idea, but the technology behind that and having the delivery system all lined up is kind of the innovative piece. But it's the kind of trial that's really exciting, but with obvious benefits in terms of the air quality, traffic congestion, and helping a smaller business. So we're really excited by that sort of trial. Again, if you'd like to get involved with your own company doing a trial with us, please do just reach out through the website, through Twitter, or just email either. I've mentioned at the start, we were really excited to have, we're only coming to the end of our first year in Smart Sandyford, but we already had Smart Balbriggan and Smart D8, adding to the work already done by Docklands and DCU. So our sort of Smart Dublin districts are really expanding. We have a really great collaborative research where through the pandemic, just from a social side, we met most days for 10 to 15 minutes just to chat and see what everybody was working on. But that meant that there was really good crossover, that we all knew what the others were doing, that we could collaborate really effectively. Each of the districts kind of has their own special objectives. In Sandyford, we look at mobility, there's community, college campus, health and well-being, and the Docklands is the test bed district. So working together, we're always going to have a home for the different types of projects. So there's we don't tend to have to say no, which is great. So please do get in touch, and we will find a place where your technology or your service can be tested. I'm going to hand over to some of the other district managers that are going to describe their districts and some example projects. Over to you, Kieran Mahan from Smart DCU.
Hi, folks. So Smart DCU is using the university campus in Glasnevin as a microcosm of the city. Now, one of the strengths of DCU is that they have researchers looking at hydrogen. And as more and more wind farms come on stream, there will be a need to look at what do you do with the off-peak power caused with these wind farms. And one of the uses is to turn it into hydrogen. So DCU, in conjunction with CIE, brought a bus, the first one to Ireland to enter public service. It was actually put on a 109A bus route. And the logistics of getting this bus to work, everything, the generation of hydrogen, the refueling coupling, getting people trained to drive it. We went from A to a Z. But not just happy with just putting a bus on a bus route, we also decided to make this a smart bus. So we talked to our partners like Safe Facility, Ambisense, Sigfox, and asked them, are they interested in putting their sensors on the bus? And they were. So this bus became the smartest hydrogen bus in the world. It even included a sensor from Halo Solutions, which is self-learning. It actually has artificial intelligence on the edge. And this is done at very low costs and low power consumption. And it can learn about normal behavior patterns and then only look and report when abnormal behavior patterns happen. So all this information, including the bus telemetry, is also going to be analyzed by the Insight Center for Data Analytics. The bus, we also availed of every type of IoT wireless network. So the Sigfox wireless network, the DCU-based LoRa wireless network, and Vodafone's NB-IoT network. So we could test all of these in action. And as of another part of it was we actually got autistic students to travel on the bus, because this bus is smoother, quieter, would have less pollutants inside it. So we wanted to get the autistic perspective of it. So the findings from this will then be used as future transport options happen. And more likely, hydrogen will be a fuel that is used for mobility in city centres due to the fact there's no pollution. So that's just one of the smart DCU projects that I hope you'd be interested in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kieran. I'll hand you over now to Michael Gearan from Smart Docklands.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks for having me. Which slide will come first? Okay, the Academy in the near future. So look, I just want to touch on two projects very briefly. One which we're, I suppose, looking for partners for at the minute, and which we'll be expanding, and the second is show the across the districts and the local authorities. First one is the Academy of the Near Future. As you can see there, it's a smart city tech program for upskillers and students. Specifically focused on local authority staff in the first instance, and to educate the transition year students. The three kind of components to it, participants in the education program will be learning how to build an IoT sensor without any code. We'll also teach them how to identify problems, mostly urban challenges, how to refine and to understand those challenges a bit more using design thinking methodologies, and then lastly we'll be combining the sensor technology and the challenges to use a sensing and actuation methodology where people can learn how to put a sensor out in the wild that they have built, take the data from that and learn how that can impact and improve problems that are faced in the city. So we have a pretty lofty goal of teaching and getting to 1,000 students in the next 12 to 18 months. That's obviously not just in the Docklands, that's across Ireland. So if anybody on the call here is interested in what works with any transition year students or school level students and would like this program to be taught in that school or in that setting, please get in touch and let us know. The second one there, Connor, was just a Ringboy project. So this came initially from a Smart Docklands workshop. Connor talked earlier about the citizen engagement workshops that he has run in Sandyford. We have similar workshops in the Docklands. One of the problems that was identified was ring buoys get stolen on a regular basis, sometimes up to 35 get stolen per week, which is quite a lot of ring buoys, and that's just in the Dublin City Council area, not in the other 4 local authorities. So when we looked at the problem across the whole Dublin region and across all of Ireland, we realised it was quite significant, and we put in a bid to the Public Sector Innovation Fund to try and find an innovative solution to this problem. And we were granted some funding with that and got some more funding from the 4 Dublin local authorities. So working with Water Safety Ireland, we decided to come up with what we wanted was a method of procurement that we could trial multiple solutions for a period of time and then buy them without having to go through a second round of procurement, and not just for the 4 Dublin local authorities, to be able to buy them for any local authority in Ireland. So working with Water Safety Ireland, that all of the local authorities could buy the solution. So we managed to secure some European funding and support to develop, and working with ANL Goodbody, we've developed what we believe is the first time this method of procurement has been used in Ireland. It's a two-phase multi-supplier framework agreement, bit of a mouthful, but you can see it there. We basically can trial multiple solutions. So we're trialing 4 solutions with the 4 companies you can see on the right-hand side there. They're being trialed for 9 months in the 4 local authority areas. At the end of that, we will test those solutions, and if those solutions are deemed successful, they will then be put onto a framework, and 21 local authorities across Ireland have bought into that framework and will be able to buy those solutions directly from the framework without having to go through their own procurement process. So I suppose it's a demonstration of how as an individual challenge identified at one of our workshops can turn into something that is collaboration across the 4 local authorities, and inevitably as it turns out, a national framework that will hopefully help local authorities across Ireland. So yeah, a great project to be involved in, and thanks very much, Conor, for having me on today, and congrats on all the great work in the last 12 months.
Brilliant. Cheers, Michael. Thanks. And over to Orla Veal from D8.
Thanks, Conor, and congratulations on your anniversary and all your great work, as Michael has mentioned there also. So my name is Orla Veal. I lead the Smart D8 district, and I suppose the clue is in the name in that the location is Dublin 8. I suppose our district, from a theme point of view that Conor mentioned earlier, we focus on health and well-being. So as you are all aware, as citizens of Ireland, there's a lot of challenges around health in Ireland, from a perspective of population health and preventative health, but also in preventative health and looking at the whole healthcare system overall. So there's a huge amount that we can work on. So it's a very exciting project to be involved in. So our purpose, very similar to the model that you've heard about in the other districts, we're looking at new and innovative approaches, and the same model again of bringing together academia, industry, public sector, really trying to look at what we can achieve as a collaborative ecosystem. So we haven't launched yet. We're a new district as such. So what we're working on at the moment is really trying to understand the needs of the community. So obviously with restrictions at the moment, it is a little challenging, but really understanding what the people of Dublin 8 need from their own health and wellbeing needs, and what we can address that will really make an impact in the project period. And then, of course, then we're working to build the ecosystem. So we do have 12 partners involved in the project as kind of core partners. And the lead partners, of course, Smart Dublin and Dublin City Council, but also the Digital Hub and St. James's Hospital. But we're open to, of course, in the collaborative model and building the ecosystem, we're very interested in talking to others from whatever area you come from. Just get in touch with me, and I'm happy to have a chat to explore potential collaboration. With our launch, we're launching on March 10th, so very much working towards that, and hopefully if it's an area of interest, we look forward to welcoming you to that launch also. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Orla. I'm looking forward to that launch. I suppose just to finish up, we're really excited by the work we've done this year, and we have kind of a bigger year now lined up for 2021. It's been absolutely fantastic working with each of our partners in Smart Dublin, Connect and Enable, Sandyford Business District, and Dún Laoghaire-Rathdown County Council. You know, it really is a huge team effort. Everybody in that stakeholder group brings their own expertise and experience, which makes the program such a success. So thank you all very much. I'd also like to thank An Cathaoirleach Una Power for her time today and opening the event. It was great to hear that glowing report, and that our review is a reasonable document. I'd also like to thank the other panelists today. Thank you for your time and for your work throughout the year. And of course, the wider network. Obviously, we couldn't include everybody on the review today. So thank you, everybody else as well. If you would like to get in touch, please just send me an email, or you can reach out on Twitter or on the website, smartdublin.ie. And here's to another great year. Thank you very much, and good luck.